Hello there, and thank you for checking out this video. My name is Jim Mariano. I'm the managing partner at Recipi. Recipi, we are a digital marketing agency serving event rental businesses. So our main focus is marketing, right? It's helping clients with, create and manage a beautiful website, um, set up and manage Google Ads, right? So our main focus is on marketing, getting good quality traffic to your website and helping you convert that traffic into leads, right? So when we talk marketing, we're typically talking, getting people aware of the fact you exist, getting them to your site, and then turning them into a lead. And that's kind of where marketing ends and sales begins, right? So while we don't offer sales services, it's super important, right? So what good is what good are all these leads if we can't close them? So I wanted to make a quick video based on the learnings that I've picked up from my own rental business. I've owned backyard tent rental in Boston for almost 20 years, and from our 200-ish clients that we have. So this topic comes up often. So this is a quick list of kind of do's and don'ts. All right, so let's just jump right into it. So number one, the first thing I always tell clients is let's just follow the three F's, right? Let's be fast, fair, and friendly. Right? When we're responding to someone over the phone or through an email, speed realistically is the number one indicator to are we going to book this job or not, right? If we can be fast and the price seems reasonable and you just come off like a decent person, that's probably 80% of the battle, right? So fast, fair, friendly. That's number one. Number two, don't be an order taker. Okay, you're not a cashier at Dunkin' Donuts. You're not just, oh, you need 30 chairs. Here's your 30 chairs. Or, oh, you want to rent it. Let's be proactive, right? Let's do something with the sale, right? This is a great opportunity to upsell, right? Remind them that, hey, you want to rent tables. Do you need tablecloths, right? Obvious stuff. So don't just be an order taker, right? Sales should be strategic. It should help you drive more business. Um, Number three, let's research before we respond, right? If somebody fills out the contact form on your site and sends you an email, you have the time to sit back and do some quick research first. Right, so let's start with the event address, right? Where's this going? Is it 10 minutes from your warehouse or, 100 miles away, right? Is this a party at somebody's home? Is this a business? Is it an event venue, right? There's so much we can learn from the request before we just blindly follow up and respond. Um, the contact person, right? So if I see a lead or an inquiry come in and it's from janesmith@gmail.com, I can assume she's just, this is a regular old consumer, right? This is somebody hosting an event. They're not a professional. They're just a regular one-off event. But if it's Jane Smith at Newton Country Club or Jane Smith at Marriott.com, I'm going to talk to her very differently, right? I'm going to say, hey, Jane, we're happy to help you with this event. And if we nail it, I would love to talk to you about all of your events moving forward, right? So where is the event? Who's the contact person, right? Do your research first. I even, I'm in the tent rental business. So I look up the person's address. I take a look at their property, right? Is a tent going to fit in their yard? Are there, you know, obstacles, potential underground hazards, right? If there's a giant pool in the backyard, it tells me I probably have to think about underground, right? What trouble am I going to get in staking this tent into the ground? So do your research first. The next one, online booking tools. So I'm a former tech guy. I'm a software guy. I'm not afraid to use tech to run a smarter rental business. So if you want to use one of these booking tools, Tap Goods, Bookable, Good Shuffle, these are great tools for, creating invoices and taking payments and doing inventory. They do all these great things. And you can integrate them into your website so that a potential customer can kind of build their own quote, right? And that's great, right? If you want to have tools that allow somebody to put together their own quote, go for it. What I don't love is letting them go all the way through to actually check out and pay, right? Because it hasn't given us a chance to vet these jobs, right? My fear, the last thing I want is to wake up on a Saturday morning and see that somebody has requested or somebody's already bought and paid for 12 chairs and it's 35 miles away. I'm not doing that job, right? I'm 18 years in, my business is humming, I get plenty of demand. I'm not doing that. So I want to be able to vet these jobs first. Next is follow up, right? This is a nice, easy one. So even if you're fast, fair, and friendly, the other person on the other end of that email, they're a human. They have a life too, right? Maybe they got distracted or forgot all about this, or, you know, follow up, right? This one's like self-evident. If you really want the job and you haven't heard from them in 3-4 days, follow up, send them another email, shoot them a text, give them a call, right? You're well within your rights to try to reach out and get in touch with them. All right, so let's just follow up. Related to that, one of the things we could do is on your contact form on your website, let's ask them their communication preference, right? Just ask them, how do you want us to get in touch? Phone, email, text, right? So that way we know for sure that we're reaching out to them the way they want to be communicated with. Next is, okay, so subject line, right? So when you send an email that has a subject line, right? When somebody fills out that form on your website, most of the website builders today, they'll send you, the business owner, an email that says like new website form submission or contact form submission, something like that. But when we respond, I don't want to just say, regarding new contact form submission, right? That may end up getting caught by spam filters, right? So it may not get into the inbox. B, it's a little underwhelming, right? It doesn't look great from the customer's end. And C, if you have an inbox filled with emails that all say, regarding website form submission, it's hard to track and follow up with these. So when somebody new inquires on my site, I'll take their name, their event date, and their location, and I'll make that the subject line of the email, right? So Jessica, August 30th, Newton, backyard tent rental, right? So now, after a few months, my whole inbox, I know exactly what jobs and who's responding because it says, August 30th, Newton, September 12th, dance floor rental, right? So my inbox is a little more clean and helpful to me. And that customer now sees a nice email that, the subject line is eye-catching, right? It's about them. So I think that really helps across multiple fronts. So I won't torture that. And then when you're sending that email, right, we don't just want to send a quote and, even if you are fast, fair, friendly, whatever, let's also give some more detail about the process or what the next steps are, right? So all of my emails, first of all, I make templates, right? I'm answering the same questions over and over again. So if you're inquiring about a package that I have, a 60-person tent package, I have a template saved in my Google Drive. So I can literally just copy paste, right? So I grab it and I can say, hey, Jessica, thank you so much for getting in touch. We'd be thrilled to help you with the following, and then I list out all the 60-person package info. But after that, I'm including other things about the process, right? The questions that I know these people are inevitably going to ask me, right? When do you install? When do you remove, right? So I include like, hey, here's our typical process. We set up tents on Thursday and Friday. We take them down on Monday or Tuesday. So effectively the tent is yours for the weekend. Here's some add-on or optional items you might want to think about, right? So this is a great way to upsell or cross-sell. right? So, hey, we're happy to help you with your package. Do you want to include linens, right? Do you want to include lighting for the tent? Upgrade to nicer chairs, right? So that's how I handle my email sales, right? Is I'm sending a really nice detailed response with here's what we can offer you, here's a little bit about our process, and then next steps, right? If you have any questions or if you'd like to move forward, just let me know. Right? And then typically they get back to me and say, yep, this sounds great. What are the next steps? And I'll send along an invoice for payment. So there's a couple of easy things that you can do to improve your sales process. As far as the things I really don't want to see you doing, don't just send an invoice, right? If I'm a homeowner, if I reach out to a a fence business, right? If I want to fence in my backyard, it's not really helpful if I just get a response that says like quote attached, and then they just send me a quote because I don't know. All right, great. When can you do the job? Right? Do I owe you the whole bill up front, or is it 50% now, 50%? So some context, right? Don't just say invoice attached, right? So that's number one. Um, and then number two, realistically, I just I don't want you to die on pricing, right? Like if you're sending out all these quotes, all right, I'll give an example. I have a client in the restroom trailer space, right? So these beautiful luxury air conditioned bathrooms for weddings and events and construction projects. In their first month, they've had like 15 inquiries, 15 form submissions through their website. And from my end, it's going great, right? My job as the marketer is to get you leads. Here they are. And by the way, they look like good leads. So I reach out to the client and I ask, how's it going? Do you have questions? And they say, yeah, it's not going well. I haven't booked a single job. And I look and I say, well, you've got all kinds of leads. What are you doing with the sales process that none of them have hit? None of them have closed. And a lot of the time, I think it comes down to pricing, right? So that's one major factor, right? If you're going to die on this hill, right? My rental is $1,800. Take it or leave it. Well, it's clearly not working. So let's adjust, right? I would rather see a new rental business take that same job instead of $1,800. If you have to take it for $1,200, do it, right? Maybe it doesn't feel great. Maybe the margins aren't huge, right? You still have to pay labor and you paid for the marketing cost to get the job. So you might not want to do this forever. But when you're first getting started, you don't have any pricing power, right? You're brand new. You don't have, you know, 45 perfect 5-star reviews on Google from happy customers. You don't have word of mouth. These leads are precious, right? So we don't want to waste all these leads. And by the way, we're paying to go get these leads, so we don't want to just waste them. I'd rather see you take the job for whatever, $1,200. Because in the end, it's still a building block. It's still something that's going to help you get the next job, right? So go do the work because it hopefully results in a 5-star review, which gets you more visibility on that Google map listing. But then there's going to be, let's say it's a restroom trailer for a wedding. There's going to be 150 people using your rental, using your product. Inevitably somebody's going to have an event down the road and they're going to ask, hey, what was that company you used for so and so's wedding? So you have to get out and start doing the work, right? And that's kind of what starts the flywheel. That's what starts getting the momentum going, right? You go do the job, you get the 5-star reviews, you have word of mouth or repeat customers that come from it, or maybe you meet the event planner or the event coordinator and now you can do more deals with them, right? So when you're first getting started and you don't have any pricing power, you cannot just die on this hill of, this is my price. right? Even the largest companies do this when they're entering a new market and they're trying to, capture market share, right? Think about like Netflix. You know, when they first started, we're just flooding the market. We're going to go inexpensive price point. We just want to acquire as many customers as we can and own this space and become kind of the market leader. And at some point down the road, then we can apply some pricing power, right? Then we can raise the price for new customers. And we can raise the price for current customers or prevent people from sharing accounts, right? At some point, you can have some pricing power, but when you're first getting started, I want you to just do the work, right? By doing the jobs and getting out there, right? You're learning about your business. Um, you're starting that flywheel of other sources of business coming in, referrals, word of mouth, repeat, right? The stuff we talked about. So I think that, I mean, that's how I ran my business in the early days. I'd much rather go out and do the job, even if it's not at the price that you wanted, because hopefully every job you do is a building block that you can start to stack on top of each other, and start to build something, a marketing machine, so more reviews, more repeat customers, word of mouth, etc. Unrelated, or similarly related to this conversation, I get a lot of questions about non-typical rentals, right? So long-term rentals specifically, right? How do I price a long-term? My answer is I don't know if there's a real rule of thumb, right? It might be a good idea to just come up with, do some research, come up with like this is my price, this is my daily price, this is the weekly price, and this is the monthly price, right? So some idea of pricing for long-term rentals is great. But in reality, I just want you to be a human. I just want you to, what I do, right? If I really want one of these jobs, if somebody asks me for a tent rental for 3 months for their summer camp, my my like bells go off, because I hear, okay, this is potentially an annual event, right? I want to book this job. I want to get this job because if I get it, I probably own it for 5, 6, 7 years, right? And that's great business. So I'll tell people, right? Hey, here's my rough pricing. I think I'm pretty fairly priced, but just guide me in, right? I want to do this job for you guys. I want to make this relationship. So if you have somebody who's willing to do it for less, just let me know, and I might be more than happy to price match. Right? So that's the approach, and I think that has such better outcomes than just sitting around saying no unless you get exactly what you want on pricing. Right? Eventually, when you become a well-established rental business and the leads are flowing and you know that you are going to be booked up, then you can command pricing power and say, hey, the price is $1,800. And if you don't want to rent it, that's totally fine because I know that somebody else is going to fill that spot. Right. So someday that will be the case, or I hope that will be the case. But for the moment, when you're just getting started, I want you to use pricing as a tool, right? You don't have all this overhead that giant existing rental businesses have. So use price as a tool to start the flywheel of your business, to get the snowball rolling downhill, right? We can't get 5-star reviews and we can't get beautiful photos from these events unless you're actually out doing work, right? So take the job. Who cares if you left a couple $100 on the table, as long as it's being done strategically, right? If I know, okay, I'll do it for 1,200 instead of 1,800 because if this one goes well, maybe I can go talk to the event manager about doing more at their venue, right? So I hope this was helpful, right? Sales is something that can be intimidating if you don't have sales or entrepreneurial experience. So again, thank you for watching this. If you're new to Recipi or if you want more info, head to recipe.com. We have all kinds of free resources and rental marketing guides and online courses. So thank you again, recipe.com for more information. I appreciate your time.